Hi, welcome to the Mindful Solopreneur. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And today I want to talk to you about how to deal with scope creep. Challenging to say when you are a solopreneur. And there are a couple of different types of scope creep that we could talk about. One of them is when you're dealing with clients and, like you're a freelancer or you're providing some sort of service. That's a different issue. You definitely have to deal with scope creep then also. But today, what I want to talk to you about is dealing with it when you create it for yourself. And this has definitely happened to me. It's happened to everybody I know who's a solopreneur. And so just know that kind of is part of the territory of being a solopreneur. And the important part is to recognize it when it starts to happen. So for me, I've noticed that sometimes it grows out of true enthusiasm. If you will read one of my blog posts, it's called When Inspiration Turns to Internal Struggle. I talk about a real life example of scope creep in that post, that I started out just being so excited and just couldn't shut down my enthusiasm, and it turned into something where I was just grouchy and I was exhausted, and I just felt it became my master. And so that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about that happens to everybody. And if you haven't experienced it, you will. That's okay. But you have to decide, is this growth that I'm experiencing, all of these new offshoots of great ideas that I could connect to this project, are those real enthusiasm? Am I just being open to being inspired, or am I putting off releasing this product, releasing this service, releasing, launching this book, e-course, whatever it is that you're working on? Because sometimes it really can be coming from a place of enjoyment, and there's that fine line of where, okay, I need to cut myself off now and just focus on what I have so far. Or it can be a way of, well, this has to be perfect before I can launch it. And so I'm going to work on this forever so that I never have to leave this comforting cocoon of creation, because that's really the fun part. Putting yourself out there is the scary part. So just as an example, I recently launched my very first product on Phoenix PLR, and I started working on the project months before. I was doing all the writing, and I was learning as I went along. So I was learning all this new technology and working on connecting with other PLR sellers and all that kind of thing. So I mean, it was going to take me longer. However, I ended up procrastinating, going back to the wheel and researching some more. And, I just kept adding to it and messing with it until I just didn't even want to look at it anymore, because I was so frustrated. I felt like it was never going to happen. It was never going to be released. And I finally just had to sit myself down and talk to myself and say, this is what you're doing. It's out of fear. Let's look at the fear. Let's sit with the fear and just recognize it for what it is. So it can come from either of those two places, and it doesn't really matter which it is. It's good for you to know where that's coming from, because it can be a vicious cycle of every time you want to create something new, every time you want to redesign your website, or every time you want to hire someone to create a book cover for you or whatever. I mean, it can turn into this huge project when it really doesn't need to, and it can happen every single time you do something. So if that's the case, you definitely want to look at that and come to the root of why you're doing that over and over again. Not to be harsh to yourself, but to recognize that that's a pattern for you, and that working on your fear might be really important for you. So I offer you that as well. But let's look at some ways that we can deal with it. Once we recognize that it has happened, that it's turned into a monster, we need to go back and look at our purpose. Why did we originally want to produce this? Why did we want to put it out there for our tribe? What goal is it serving? What purpose is it serving? And then go back and look at the project as it is now and ask yourself, is my purpose still being served? Or have I blown it to the point where it's so massive that my tribe isn't even going to be able to take in everything I'm trying to tell them because there's just too much? Okay? So go back and look at your purpose. Is this going to really serve you? Is it going to serve your tribe? Or has it gotten out of control? So that's the first step. Once you recognize it, go back to your purpose. The second step is return to look at your return on investment. So going back to the example of my first PLR launch, it was a great success. I was very, very happy. I had some amazing joint venture partners that helped me out and did a great job of promoting for me. But I look at the amount of money that we made off of that launch, the sale, and in 7 days, I look at this number. In 7 days, we made this much, and that's true. But you have to think about all the months before that I sat on it, that I procrastinated, that I had to perfect it, that I had to do more research, all that kind of stuff that added to the amount of time and energy that went into the product. If you count all of that, then the return isn't nearly what it could be and what it will be the next time, because I learned a lot of lessons. So you have to think about the return on investment. If this is a product that's going to lead people into your funnel, that's great, but only allow that much time and effort to be involved in it so that you can move on to create the rest of the funnel. Okay, so that's the second thing, is to look at your return on investment and decide if it's serving you and your clients and your tribe, to see if it's gotten out of control. Now, if you do look at the original product and then all of the other new exciting ideas that have come out of that, and you decide, the original was good, but this stuff, this section right here, this is better. This was just the kernel of an idea that led me to this. Then by all means, go with the new, the new version, the new and improved version. That kernel of an idea maybe was just your self-wisdom, your inner knowing that that's where you started, but this is where you ended up. And so only you can decide if that's the true. If you're just growing it and it's gotten out of control and it's really several products or several projects, but you need to start here first, that's great. It doesn't matter, that's great. Or you can restate the whole project and turn it into what it developed into. So both of those are viable options, and it's exciting either way. So just accept it for what it is. You don't have to do it all. In fact, it may not be best for everybody involved to do it all. You might need to break it down. So that's the next thing I wanted to mention, is don't be afraid to redefine the project if it starts becoming scope creep. You can redefine it and it will still be awesome. Another thing you might want to do is to, if you're having a hard time with getting it out there because you keep going back and wanting to retool everything, then set a deadline for yourself and finish the original project first. And then if you have time, go back and work on creating the bonuses, creating the extras that you came up with, these inspirational ideas, and then add to it. If you reach that deadline and you don't have time to go and create the bonuses and all that kind of stuff, that's fine. Go ahead and release it like it is. Release the original product, and then later go back and create the bonuses and release it to your people. They are going to adore you when you do that, because out of the blue, they're going to get this email with this link to an amazing bonus that they didn't know they were going to get, and they just think that you are the most amazing thing ever because you're giving them something extra. So sometimes that can even benefit you. You don't have to give up on the idea just because you can't release it immediately with the original product. So those are some ideas that I have. You can also, along those lines, you can also create the smaller product that you started out with. Maybe you don't have time to create, this larger thing that it's morphed into right now. You can still put out the first product and launch that as a smaller product or service or whatever, and then get feedback from that. What did your tribe like from that? What did they wish you had added? And then use that as the foundation and build a larger product or service on top of that. So that's another way that you can do it. It's yours. You own it. It's your creation. So you can do it however you want. You can go back to the original. You can retool it, redesign it, decide, okay, the original idea was good, but this is a lot better. Or you can release it in stages. So the most important thing that you have to do is to be true to yourself, to check in with your body. How is this feeling? Am I breathing very shallowly because it's gotten out of control? I've let the whole scope of the project just creep out of control? Or does this feel good? Am I invigorated because I'm getting new ideas and new challenges and all these great ideas? Keep them, journal them, but decide if now is the right time to go ahead and develop them, or if it can be something that you can add to later. So those are some ways to practically deal with scope creep, but also to do it mindfully so that you are being authentic to yourself and to your tribe, and so that you're not wasting great ideas. Those are coming from somewhere, and you want to honor that those are coming to you. So hopefully that has helped you, and you'll be able to go through those steps next time you deal with scope creep, because it will happen again, and that's okay, because now you know how to deal with it. So until next time, have a mindful day and enjoy your business.